The wind howls and snow begins to fall as the twilight fades into the almost night of the very late winter, early spring here in the Ironlands. Wiglaf and his faithful hound Griff stand in the woods, perhaps 100 feet from the tall palisade that surrounds the raider encampment of a Duskmoor. There are only two gates that Wiglaf saw on first arrival, one to the east and one to the west, both guarded by two armed men. Wiglaf knows that inside these walls there is the family of Sabine, to whom he has sworn an iron vow to rescue Sabine's wife and his 3 children. And the question Wiglaf must now face as the wind blows past him and the snow gets into his hair, and Griff sort of looks questioningly at him, smart enough as a dog to know not to make any sounds here. How do we get in, and how do we get them out? Hello and welcome. I am Scrapperlock, and this is Ironsworn Antarctica, Session 2. In our previous session, Wiglaf headed into Red Hall Lodge for lunch with Nan and Awina, and Sabine, a very wounded and cold and nearly frostbitten and nearly dead member of the nearby town of Longhaven, arrived and collapsed. And after they got some warmth into him and brought him to the fire, Sabine told them that the raider chieftain Kova, who rules the town of Duskmoor, has decided to raise an army and start a war against the nearby settlements and eventually basically rule them all. He plans to attack Longhaven, and as a preamble to this, he had some of his troops raid the outskirts. They burned down the barn of Sabine's family, broke into his house, knocked Sabine unconscious, left him for dead, and took Sabine's wife and his children, who I have decided are 2 daughters and a son, using a random oracle. We just sort of asked the oracle, and we came up with their names. And so the wife's name is Nazmi, and the 3 children's name are Katja, who the oracle said was a teenage girl, his son Shakar, who's 11 years old, and his youngest daughter Lestara, who is 8. After hearing this, Wiglaf swore an iron vow on the iron tip of his spear, and he got a strong hit, which means he got some momentum and he knew right what to do. And he went with his dog Griff, just as the light was fading, to Sabine's now damaged house and destroyed barn, and they inspected the area and they gathered information, and they got a weak hit on this, which added the complication that yes, he was able to follow the trail, but these guys were mounted, and since Griff and Wiglaf aren't, it took them a lot longer to get back to the to get to Duskmoor than the raiders. So he couldn't catch them on the road and try to stop them before they got to their camp, to their settlement. So this is a large town, Duskmoor. It's probably 2 or 3 times the size of Longhaven. Longhaven's maybe 100 people. This is 300 or 400 people. Not all of them are soldiers, but they've raised an army. And they're not using the wardens, the Iron Wardens, who protect the town, as the towns and the settlements, as our world truths say. There are only a handful of wardens protecting most towns, which is why these guys raising an army is a problem, because they could basically beat up all the wardens. There's only maybe 5-10 wardens in each town, and these guys have 50 or 100 troops. They could conquer all these towns, and he could become like the chieftain of an entire region, of a county, make himself a count or something. And that's kind of what his ambition is. So they followed the trail from behind. It took them 2 days, and they arrived on August 23rd, just as the sun was starting to fall below the horizon once again, and we were getting into that brighter type of civil twilight. Finding that Duskmoor was surrounded by a wall, there were guards at each gate. There are 2 gates with 2 guards each. And now we have to find a way in. So I think one of the things that I've decided to do is to do this as a delve. So a delve is like running a dungeon in D&D, but it's all entirely randomized. So we can see how the delve works. Now, this is sort of a level 1 game, right? This character just started. He's only got 3 assets and he has no experience. So I don't want to make this ridiculously hard. He'll just die, right? So the GM in me says this is not a troublesome delve, because that would be like walking into practically a regular town, right? Something very easy. But I made it a dangerous delve, and that means that we get 2 progress for each time we succeed at an area, and that the way this works is, you can see we have a progress track here in the middle, and it's a regular progress track where when we get to 10 progress, we can, or any time before that, if we think we've completed our task, we can go ahead and roll to see if we've succeeded and located our objective. But these are colored. There's a light gray, a medium gray, and almost like a black color to these squares. And that is sort of the regions of or zones of the dungeon, of the delve. So when you first enter the dungeon, it's only of a low rank, in this case troublesome, because it's a dangerous delve. Then in the middle, it's a dangerous situation. And then when you get to the end, it's formidable. I've set up some common types of creatures that we can find there. 00 is unforeseen. This will be something completely off the wall, random. But the most common things to find in here are the common folk, because most of the town is civilians, right? They may be behind Kova, or maybe not, but they're not all warriors, right? There are wives, there are children, there are farmers, there are farriers, there are, carpenters and stuff like that in the town. And then there are warriors and raiders and hunters. And these are all NPC types in Ironsworn. There are a few mystics. There are some zealots who are zealously with Kova. And then there's a possibility of these thralls and husks. Thralls are kind of like possessed creatures, and husks are almost like undead. And so these guys are kind of nasty. I don't expect them to be in this place, but it's possible that some sort of another force is actually pushing Kova to do what he's doing. Kova I have created basically as a ranked up raider. So he's got the abilities of a raider and is just formidable, which means he does more harm than a regular raider who is only dangerous. So we're going to run this as a delve. But before we go into the delve, I think that Wiglaf is going to try to climb one of the trees that he's near, and he's going to see if he can just use the fading light while we're still in civil twilight, and he can still kind of see stuff. He's going to try to see from here, can he sort of see perhaps a way to sneak in, and maybe that will help him get in. He might be able to climb over the wall. Maybe there's a lower part of the wall or an area that's not in repair. Maybe there's a place he can just throw a rope over and get up, but he's got to get Griff into the area too, or he might leave Griff outside. Maybe it's possible to use Griff to distract the guards and sneak in. So I think what he's going to do is he's going to climb the tree that he's near, and he's going to take a look in and see if he can see anything. So I think the move that we're going to do here is securing an advantage, right? So he's preparing to try to gain an advantage in the situation. And so what he's doing is he's trying to use essentially insight or expertise. So he's rolling plus wit. So far, other than rolling heart, we haven't really been able to roll our good stats, but that's just the way it goes. He's got +2 on his wits. So what he's going to try to do is see if he can possibly see a way in. And if he fails at this, then I guess he's not going to see a way in, and he's going to have to just just climb over the wall or something. And maybe we'll see what the price would be. All right. So let's go ahead and roll. We're at +2, and we only roll a 1 on our action die, which is 3 total, but we rolled a 5 and a 1 on our challenge dice. So that means we beat one of them, which is a weak hit. So we have a short-lived advantage. By the way, I do want to mention here, this is an altered secure advantage. This is not screenshotted. Secure an advantage from Ironsworn is generally believed to not be worth doing. But and I think Sean Tompkin must have agreed, because he changed it in Starforged, which is the upcoming science fiction version of this game. So I'm using the Starforged version of Secure and Advantage. In the original Secure and Advantage, you could only do one of the two with a strong hit, and with a weak hit, you just got like +1 momentum or something. So we can make another move now that's not a progress move and add +1, or we can take +2 momentum. So our next move is going to be delving, right? We're going to we've discovered our site, right? So we've already done that. So let's go back to our delve. So each site has a theme and a domain, and the only ones that made any sense here were fortified, strong, and stronghold. So this is a fortified stronghold. So foes defend this place against an intruder, and it is a fortress. Now it says in the rules, a fortress, and depending on your world truths, might just be a hill fort. And I think that's what this is, right? There's a hill, and there's a wall around, and there's maybe a little fort on the top of the hill, and then there's, the townsfolk and stuff around it. And so the raiders are either in the fort or maybe patrolling the edge, but they're not like in the middle of the town. And so this is a fortified stronghold. So now if we look at the possible delve moves, delving the depths is what we're going to do. So to enter this place, we're going to start by delving the depths, right? And then you mark progress, you find areas, and so on and so forth. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take +1 on our next move. And the reason for that is I think we're going to have to be going either by stealth or by wits through a lot of this. I don't think we're going to run through here. And so that means we're not going to have great bonuses. So I think we're going to take our +1. All right, so the time has come to begin delving the depths. And so the way this works is first you envision the area that you're in using the features or describing it however you want to, and then you make your delve the depths move. So so the question is, what do we see? We secured an advantage, we got a weak hit, so we got some success, but not a strong hit. And so I think that what Wiglaf sees is that there's a hole in the wall. Down at the bottom, there's like a break where some of the wooden palisade isn't really well maintained and the logs aren't completely tied together perfectly. There are some gaps. Some of them are off kilter, so there's a little bit of a gap. You can picture like a triangle, right, between a couple of the logs that are leaning against each other. And he thinks that he and Griff can sneak in through there. And so he's going to try to sneak in through there and get to the other side. So he goes down in there and he crawls through and he keeps, he motions Griff to be quiet. He climbs down the tree, motions Griff to be quiet, sneaks, trudges through the snow as it's getting darker now, and he and Griff worm their way. Backpack gets stuck a little bit, but they worm their way down through this hole and come up on the other side. And the question is, what are they going to find on the other side? So we're going to roll D100. If we get below a 20, we go to the first card. If we get above it, we go to the second card. So we get a 57. So on the other side of the hole in the wall, when he comes up, is a large hall. So basically, he's facing the back of a building. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to start mapping the area. So I'm going to place the first area, and I'm going to say large hall. And I'm going to put it down in the lower right corner because that's where I kind of envision him coming to the town from. And so the wall is on the other side of the large hall. And so that's where we are. And I'm going to draw a circle around it. No, I don't want it to be yellow. So let's just give me a sec. Here we go. We want black. Nope, I don't want that either. Turned into the pen tool. Still trying to get the hang of this. So we're in a large hall, which is kind of this area. And I'm going to just make a note here that that this is where the wall is. Might need to come back here to escape. So we're in a large hall, and if you give me a sec, I will put Wiglaf's picture on here. I'm not going to put Griff's, but we'll put Wiglaf's picture on here so that we can track where he is. So just give me a moment, and I will unpause. All right, we're back. Wiglaf is up against the back of this large hall. He hasn't gone inside. And the question is, how successful has he been at getting in here without being seen? Let's go ahead and roll for it. Remember that we get +1 on this move, and then that's the end of our bonus. We're rolling plus shadow, because they're trying to sneak in here, he and Griff. They're not going with haste, they're going with stealth. So rolling plus shadow, it's +3, and we're going to see whether we get a strong hit or a weak hit or what happens. And so we roll a 1 again, +3 is 4, and we have a 6 and a 4. That means we get a miss. So we failed to enter here. We're going to reveal a danger. And so that is the next move that we're going to do. So we reveal a danger, and now we're going to roll D100, and we're going to see whether we check the theme, the domain card, or encounter a denizen or something. So we get a 16, so we're going to check the theme card to look for what a 16 is on that card. And the 16 on Fortified is Denizen lures you into a trap. Okay, so somebody saw our hero in the trees. One of the guards must have seen him. And so he saw Griff and Wiglaf approach. And so what happens is we're in the sort of this alley between the wall and the large hall, and the two guards have come off the gate, and one is on either side, and one of them says, "So, thought you were going to sneak into Duskmoor, did you? You have to get up much earlier in the morning to trick us." And so now they are standing here armed with short swords, and we've been kind of lured into this trap. So Wiglaf stands up, and he's got his spear with him, and Griff growls, "Grrr." And Wiglaf says, "I don't want to fight you. I just came here to rescue some people from Longhaven. And if you just let them go, then I'll leave with them, and we don't have to get into a scuffle." And I think the guard's just going to laugh at him and say, "There's 2 of us and 1 of you and your dog. Just how successful you think you're going to be against us? Why don't you surrender your weapons, and we'll take you to see Kova?" And I think that there's no chance that Wiglaf is going to agree to this. And he says, "No, I don't think so." And then they say, "Well, then it's come to a fight." So we're going to get into our first combat. This is very dangerous in Ironsworn because it can go really wrong. But I do think if things go badly, we're going to try to flee through the hole and just run. And then we may have to lick our wounds and come back with a different plan. I really wasn't wanting to get into this much trouble right away. We do have some momentum. I could have burned that, but I'm not going to yet. We'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and get into combat. So the first thing we're going to do is enter the fray. So there are 2 of these guys. They are of dangerous... Let's see what they are first. Let's go to the delve. Are they warriors or raiders? They're the guards from the wall, right? So they're either warriors or raiders. I'm going to say with Ask the Oracle that it's likelier that they are warriors than raiders. That the raiders are the guys that go out and the warriors are the guys that guard. So I'm going to say it's almost certain that these guys are warriors. And we get a 93. So they are the warrior type. So if we go and look at the denizens, warriors are like this. They are battle-hardened and scarred. They like the thrill of the fight, and they maneuver for advantage. They've done this. They've surrounded him, and they try to find an opening. So these guys just have short swords. I don't think they have shields. They just have short swords. They're not like super well armed because they're not really expecting anybody to attack Duskmoor, and they're dangerous. But because there are 2 of them, we have to upgrade them to a formidable foe. So they inflict 3 progress per harm. So we're only going to inflict 1 progress per harm, and they inflict 3 harm, right? So we have to keep that in mind. Now we are armed, so we inflict 1 harm plus 1 for the spear, so we inflict 2 harm, which means we'll do 2 progress for every harm. So now we're going to go to the progress tracks, and we're going to set up our first battle. So this is going to be the battle against the 2 guards, right? And this battle, and let me just, oops, I didn't want to do that. Just kind of raise the font. There we go. Battle against 2 guards. And as I said, this battle is going to be, these guys are going to be formidable, right? So we get 1 progress per harm, so we can do 2 boxes every time we inflict harm, right? Unless it says we do +1 harm or something like that. These guys are going to lower their weapons, and they're ready to attack us. So now we're going to have to try and enter the fray. Combat moves. So the way this works is you can enter the fray as an sort of an other combat move. You can only make the strike move or secure advantage or compel, like compel them to throw down their arms, if you have initiative. And you can only use clash or face danger or turn the tide if you don't have initiative. I've also got a house ruled thing called disengage if we want to run away. You can use the face danger move to do that, but I find it unsatisfying to just keep facing danger all the time when you don't have initiative. So I wanted another move for when we didn't have initiative. That's a house rule, and I've also house ruled clash. So when we get to that, I'll talk about that. The first thing we have to do, though, is enter the fray. And so we are entering the fray with a formidable foe who inflicts 3 harm every time we take damage from them. So this is going to be pretty darn dangerous, and we gain 1 progress per harm we inflict. So facing off, we roll plus heart. And so I think, ambush, we roll plus wits. Okay, so we are only doing +2 to enter the fray. We might need to burn momentum here because we want to try and have initiative. All right, we get a weak hit. We can either take momentum or take initiative. We got a 6 and a 3, and we rolled a 3 + 2 is a 5. So we beat one of the dice. We're going to take the initiative. So on a weak hit, we take initiative, so we get to then strike at them. And so we're going to now strike at one of these guys. So Wiglaf orders Griff into attack mode. Griff starts barking and growling at one of the guys, and Wiglaf turns to the other one. And we're going to roll plus iron. He has a 3 of iron, so we do +3. And remember, we have a 7 momentum, so we can burn momentum. And we want to see if we can get a good hit here. So we get another 1. I'm rolling terrible. +3 is 4. That is a miss. I'm going to burn momentum here. We can get rid of the 5, but not the 7. This gives us a weak hit. We inflicted our harm, but we lose initiative. So Wiglaf runs forward with his spear, and the guy tries to slash at him with the sword and clangs off his shield, and he inflicts harm. So he inflicts 2 harm, right, which means we get 2 progress. So he shoves this spear forward, and the guy sort of slips on the snow and falls back against the palisade, and then staggers back to his feet. And meanwhile, Griff starts barking at the other guy, but the other guy is not afraid of dogs, and he just slashes his sword at Griff, and Griff backs away and kind of whines a little bit. So if we go back to our progress track, we got 2 progress. So I'm just going to go ahead and just draw a little check mark. So we've got 2 progress in this fight, which isn't bad to start off, but we have now lost the initiative. Oops. So back to combat moves. Without the initiative, we can clash, we can face danger, we can disengage. So the way this works, if you're trying to fight back, you can face danger. You can clash, and if you're trying to kind of maneuver or back away, you can face danger. I also need to mark that we have removed our momentum. It's back down to +2 because we burned our momentum. I just want to make the point, if we look down at our character sheet, our minimum, our reset always goes back to 2 unless we have one of these debilities down here, which we don't yet have. So So we do not have the initiative, and now we're going to make another combat move. And I think what we're going to do is face danger. So this guy sort of staggered back against the wall. Griff is kind of back behind us, and I think Wiglaf wants to kind of join, like get closer to Griff. So he backs away, and he calls Griff to him, and he's then, let's see, he's going to back away. He's going to call Griff to him. He's going to back away, he's going to call Griff to him, and then he's going to stand there and wait for the counterattacks to come, and he's going to use his shield to kind of deflect the sword and see if he can knock the sword out of one of their hands. So he's pretty good with his shield, and he's going to try to block using his shield and see if he can deflect out of their hands. So that, I think, is forceful defense. So he's going to be rolling plus iron, so that is plus 3. And by the way, Griff can't do anything. I could have him order Griff to do something, but we're always rolling using our stats. Griff doesn't have any stats. If we take damage, if we take harm, sometimes the companion will take harm instead. But let's see what happens. So we get a 7, which is a weak hit. We got an 8 and a 3, so we get a 7. That's a weak hit. So we're successful at a troublesome cost. So we can lose advantage, get hurt or endure stress, or sacrifice resources. But the advantage here is we don't suffer the harm that they do, the 3 harm. We only suffer 1. So I think that although he manages to block the swords, it just barely does so. And he's feeling surrounded now, even though his dog's kind of backing him up. He's starting to feel surrounded. He's starting to worry that they might kill his dog, and he feels that this is stressful. So we're going to have to endure stress. So this is 1 stress that we're enduring, which would affect our spirit. So we can roll plus heart or plus spirit. Right now we have 5 spirits, so we're rolling plus 5. Gosh, I rolled another 1, but we got a 2 and a 5, so that's a 6 against 2 and 5, so that is a strong hit. So we don't need any spirit, so we get plus 1 momentum. So we didn't actually take any spirit damage, I believe. Right? Or did we take the 1 spirit? Yes, we did. I believe so. Hang on a sec. Let me just read this because it's been a while. Yes, we did take the 1 spirit. So let's shake it off. We don't want to lose momentum, though. Let's go ahead and shake it off. We'll lose 1 momentum, but it resets to 2. And we'll get our spirit back. So we stay with a 5 spirit. We're actually okay. We do not have the initiative, however, because you need a strong hit to regain the initiative. So now I think we're going to clash with them. He's going to try to fight back because you're not supposed to make the same move twice in a row. So Wiglaf is going to turn back to the guy that he's already been fighting, and he's going to try to fight back. So this is, I'm not going to read all this to you guys, but this is a house rule. The original is in red, that on a weak hit you inflict harm, but you pay the price. The problem with this is it's great early in the fight, but later in the fight when inflicting harm doesn't do any more progress, all you're doing is paying the price, which I think is kind of silly. So I'm giving Clash the opportunity to regain the initiative. So on a weak hit, you can inflict harm and still lose the initiative. That's kind of what the old weak hit was without pay the price. But alternatively, you can sacrifice your safety for the upper hand. You gain the initiative, but you have to pay a price. So let's see what we can do. We're fighting in close quarters, so this is plus iron. So Wiglaf, he barely turns the sword aside of both guys, and then he just turns back to the one that he was fighting, hefts his spear, and tries to jab it at this guy and see if he can either knock the sword out of his hand or stab him in the arm and make his sword arm less useful. So we're rolling at plus 3 again, And again, I rolled a 1, but it's against a 3 and a 7, so we get a weak hit. So we can either inflict harm and continue to lose the initiative, or we can gain the initiative. So I think here we haven't done a lot of harm, so we will inflict harm. So he stays on the defensive, but he managed to jab the guy in the sword arm, which forces him to kind of, he doesn't drop the sword, but he has to move it to his left hand because his right hand has been hurt now. So he's kind of working at a bit of a disadvantage. And so that gives us a little bit more progress in the fight. And so if we go to our progress tracks, we are going to mark 2 more progress. So we now have 4 progress. So if we can get this fight to maybe 8, we can see if we can end it. I haven't been rolling terribly high on the d10s, but I've been rolling awful on the 6-sided dice. If this keeps up, next session I'm going to change which d6 I'm using. All right, so back to the combat. We still don't have the initiative, so we're going to try and face danger again. So this time, what he's going to do is he is going to order Griff to attack the same guy and try to bite that arm that was just wounded, while he turns around and attacks the guy that wasn't hurt. And so I think this is working with agility, speed, and precision, so we're going to roll plus edge. And Griff starts barking and tries to bite the guy. So we roll plus edge, and we get a 4 plus 3 is a 7 against a 4 and a 10. So we have another weak hit. So he manages to succeed, and that kind of causes the other guy to stagger, and Griff manages to bite that arm and hurt him a little bit more. But that really didn't do much to help us. And I think because he was watching Griff, the other guy kind of stabs our hero a little bit, stabs Wiglaf. So he actually kind of cuts Wiglaf across the shoulder a little bit, doing 1 harm. And now we have to endure harm. So let's go back to our character. We're going to drop his health down to 4. And now we're going to endure harm. And so we're going to roll plus health or plus iron. Plus health is plus 4, so we'll go ahead and roll that. And we get a weak hit, so we press on. So we just take 1 damage and we press on. So now I think if we go back to our combat moves, I think it's time to try and clash and fight back again. And so our two heroes, Griff and Wiglaf, are going to coordinate their attacks and attack one of these guys and see if they can try and get him. And we got to just hope we don't keep rolling 1s and 2s on our action die. But we do. So I end up with a 5 against a 7 and a 9, so that's a miss. So now we have to pay the price. So they try to attack these 2 guys, but it doesn't work. And the one that they've turned their back on comes in and attacks. And so let's look at the list here and see what could happen. Causes a delay. A new danger is revealed. The situation worsens. You lose something of value. The action has an unintended effect. Let's roll and see what happens, because I don't really know here what would work best. 37 is the current situation worsens. So I think what happens is the 2 guys actually join side by side, so that they like kind of form a united front and press Griff and Wiglaf up against the wall so that they're basically trapped. All right, so now we go back to the combat moves, and once again we can either face danger or clash, and we need to get a strong hit in order to succeed, and we've got to get our die to stop rolling 1s and 2s for me. I think at this point we still don't have any momentum. So I think Wiglaf is going to tell Griff to run. And he orders Griff to run, and Griff is going to try to get out through the wall. So if we fail, Griff won't get out. They'll block his path. And Wiglaf is going to tell Griff to run and go back to Red Hall, basically go back to his friends so that they know what happened. And Griff isn't probably going to want to leave, but this is using loyalty and courage. And he's going to see if he can get his dog to run. That might also distract the other guys, too, if they try to stop him. So rolling plus heart here is the best chance we have. And we get another 2. Plus 4 is a 6 against a 6 and a 7. So that is a miss. So Griff refuses to leave and is unwilling to leave his friend. And so now we have to pay the price. And I think... So Griff is basically put in harm's way. So he's not going to leave, right? This is the 95 to 98 result. The companion is put in harm's way. So I think what this means is the next time we take damage, harm, it's going to go to Griff instead of to our PC. So Griff is growling, barking, flat out refusing to leave, and instead he's going to start to try to attack one of these other guys, which means the next move is going to be a clash with Griff doing the clashing. He is going to try to bite one of these guys. So we're going to go ahead and clash now. And that is with iron, so it's plus 3. We get a 7 against a 6 and a 5. So Griff, strong hit. So Griff absolutely refuses to go away. And so he jumps at this guy and bites him. This does 2 harm. We can take a momentum or inflict a 3rd harm. And this also gives us initiative. I think we're going to take the 3rd harm. This is going to be very risky. But I think we're going to take the 3rd harm. Because now we have 7 progress. And now we have the initiative. We got a strong hit on the previous move, and that's the only way you can then use the end the fight move. Right? When we have initiative, right? When we have made a strong hit, we can try to end the fight. So now we're not rolling our progress die. Our action die. We're only going to roll against the progress track. So Griff's got a hold of this guy's arm and is just yanking it down, and he's been staggered. And the other guy is completely taken by surprise that this husky has suddenly turned into practically a wolf and is just chewing on his and on his friend's arm. And he's gone in to try to help, and because of the extra harm, Wiglaf maybe tripped him or got him in the foot with a spear. And so now what we're going to try to do is end the fight. So we have to roll against the 7, right? So what we're trying to do is hopefully roll under. So we roll our 2 dice, and we get a 3 and a 7. So it's a weak hit. Okay? We tied it, so it's a weak hit. And so if we look at end the fight, what it says, on a weak hit as above, the foe is no longer in the fight. But we can either harm, stress, or the victory is short-lived, a new danger appears, or we suffer collateral damage. So I think what's going to happen is okay, these guys inflict 3 harm, so it's going to be pretty bad. But I think what's going to happen is Griff's going to get hurt, right? So the guy manages to cut Griff along the side, and Griff takes 3 harm and has to do endure harm, companion endure harm. And where is that? Here we go. So when your companion faces physical damage, suffers minus health, and so on, roll plus heart or the companion's health, whichever is higher. So plus heart's going to be higher. If we look at the assets, Griff has 4 health. He just took 3 harm. So he's down to 1 health. And now we're going to do the companion endure harm. And we're rolling plus heart. So we get a 2 plus 4 is 6. Against a 6 and a 3, that's a weak hit. So the companion is battered. Their health is not 0. So Griff is hurt. He whines, and his side is slashed. But these two guys are now out of the fight. So basically, Wiglaf clocks the one guy with the haft of his spear, and Griff takes the other guy down and like just chews his throat off. And so one of them's dead, the other one's unconscious, but Griff is hurt. So Griff's down to 1 health. We're not going to be able to heal him or anything anytime soon. So probably what Wiglaf is going to want to do is get him to leave, and we'll see if he can do that in the next session. But we've completed the battle. I do want to kind of mark this off. So this is a weak hit success. 1 dead guard, 1 unconscious. And if we go to our player character, I think at this point that means that we have now reached a milestone in the quest. We're inside. We've defeated these 2 guards. You know, a little bit of damage. We've defeated these 2 guards. We've finished this section, quote unquote, of the delve. And I think now that we're inside this stronghold, we have completed the next milestone of our quest. So I'm going to go ahead and I will clean up what this looks like, but we're going to go ahead and mark progress here. And so this is the reach a milestone move, right, where we've marked 2 progress on our dangerous quest. So I think we're going to stop there. We've completed this part of the delve. And so I don't think we can mark progress yet on that. If we look at the delve the depths, we reveal the danger. So we did not mark any progress. Okay. So we haven't made any progress going through the delve, but we made a little bit of progress on our quest. And so that's where it stands. We've, got our spirit and our supply. Our momentum is only 2, but things are looking okay. We managed to survive that first very difficult fight. Formidables are really tough when you're a brand new character and you don't have a lot of assets. But we did all right. And until next time, I am Scrapperlock. Oh, and I made a mistake, didn't I? When I faced danger, I could have added +1 or taken momentum. Well, I'll try to remember that next time, guys. Always happens when you're playing a new character in a new role-playing game. We've got 4 progress on our inciting incident quest. We haven't found our quarry yet, but we've managed to make our way inside this delve, and hopefully in the future we will be able to get through it a little better and get a little bit better luck. And I think I'm going to swap out this gray die for a blue die and see if that is a little bit better of an action die. I'm going to put the dark gray die in dice jail. Until next time, I am Scrapperlock, and this has been Ironsworn, Antarctica.